Tonight on Crimewatch, the 70-year-old man tortured in his own home.
Stop it, or you're going to get hurt!
I don't know how another human could do this to another human. It's just barbaric.
Can you tell us who did this? Hello and welcome to Crimewatch. We'll be showing you the full account of what happened to that poor man in just a moment. But first, a look at what other cases are coming up on tonight's show. We've got detectives from all across the UK right here and ready for your call. They want to know what happened to this Southampton man. A few weeks after these pictures were taken, he was found dead. Someone must know who's responsible. We also need your help to catch a rapist before he strikes again. He's already attacked a nurse on her way to work.
I was absolutely petrified. I just was really, really scared.
Ralph, who are you after?
Well, recognise any of tonight's wanted faces. This group contains suspects sought for offences including kidnap, armed robbery and arson.
And Matthew, what have you got for us?
I have the jewellery thieves who posed as workmen before making a brazen escape in black cabs, still wearing their balaclavas.
Come on! Tower Hill, please. What, young?
They made off with nearly £1 million worth of unique jewellery. We need to know if you've been offered any and if you can identify the gang.
But we start with the raid on the family home of grandparents, David and Anne, in Sourstanbury, a small hamlet in Essex. It happened at the very beginning of August, when they were looking after their 3-year-old granddaughter for the night. The burglars, who broke in as they all slept, are some of the most brutal that we have ever come across.
Get out! Get out! It, or you're going to get hurt! Where's the safe? Where is it? You know you've got one. Where is it? I haven't got a safe! I'll keep any money in the house! You have a house like this without a safe! Where is the safe?
Oh, we've been robbed.
What's happened?
2 burglars have come in and robbed us. Oh, I want the police here now, please. My husband's been tortured. No, he's had an iron put on his back and has burned his back.
Okay, I'll get officers down there.
In the early hours of Sunday, the 1st of August, we were called to attend a property in Sourstanbury in Essex following a report of a break-in. But this was no ordinary burglary. The offenders forced the owners to hand over valuables worth more than £100,000. Their chosen method of persuasion? Torture.
I always thought Sourstanbury is the safest place in the world to live because I've never heard of any neighbours getting broken into or anything happening to them. And to me, this is a complete shock, you know, what's happened to us. The upsetting thing about it is that now, as soon as it gets dusk, Anne is like a nervous wreck. She, you know, she gets very, very panicky. And it's just, at the moment, ruined her life. She's, you know, not the same person.
David is a builder by trade and has worked hard for many years to build up a successful business. And despite being in his 70s, he's only recently retired. He and his wife, Anne, were looking forward to a well-earned rest, spending time with their family and indulging in their passion for collecting antiques.
You want to do a pink one?
It was a Saturday. I came home about 4 o'clock.
Makes them all small.
First thing I did was took the 2 dogs for a walk. Came back, Anne was here with her granddaughter.
Here. Do some more. You've still got some more bits there.
Had dinner, just watched a bit of TV.
What's the genie doing?
Then went to bed quite early. And took the little girl to bed. And the house was, and the streets was very, very quiet. Just a normal evening.
doing here? Get out! Shut it, or you're gonna get hurt! Look! Where's the safe? Where is it? We know you've got one. Where is it? I haven't got a safe. I'll keep any money in the house.
It was very awkward to try to explain to them that there was no cash in the house because they 100% thought there was. And it was virtually impossible to convince them that there wasn't any. Then he said, "Who's in the house with you?" So I said, "Just my wife and a granddaughter, but don't go in there." And with that, they more or less frog marched me round to the room.
Shut up. Get up.
My granddaughter.
Leave her there. Come on.
They brought Anne out. Fortunately, left the granddaughter behind. And I was just praying that she wouldn't wake up and walk into like a horror story.
And where's the safe? This is serious.
I've got a safe, I swear.
You have a house like this without a safe. Get the iron. Now you'll talk.
We haven't got any cash in the house. Why would we keep cash? Oh, no, please. No.
Listen, I've got an iron and I'll plug it in.
No!
Where is the safe?
No, there is no safe. We've got
one last chance.
No. We've got no cash. There's only a metal box in the cupboard under the stairs. It's got my jewellery.
Box stairs.
Anne said that I've got a box downstairs with stuff in it. He said they've gone down and got the box and they've opened it up and it was full of cufflinks, plus a few other things. There was a couple of pocket watches in there. And they opened it up and one of them looked at it and seemed very disappointed.
You must have more than this. What's it gonna take?
Go on, use it. There's nothing. There's nothing, we've told you. What you see is what we've got. Shut up. We need the money.
We've got no money in the house. Oh, no money.
You must have.
What happened next is too graphic to show. Using the iron, the attackers inflicted horrific burns on David's back and then threatened to pour boiling water over their granddaughter sleeping in the next room. In the 10 years I've been working within the police, this is probably the most violent burglary I've come across. These men must be caught.
I didn't realise how bad the burn was. And it was only when several of the nurses said to me that when they saw how bad it was, they said, "I don't know how another human could do this to another human. It's just barbaric." Obviously, if if they were caught, Anne and I would be very relieved to know that these type of people are not around to do it to somebody else who might not be as strong as me and could wind up in a fatality.
Barbaric. It is like a horror story, really. DC Lee Pudney is with me now in the studio. Horrific, brutal, and it has to be said, very, very rare, this type of violence.
Yes, fortunately this is a very rare and unique case. I'm not aware of any other instances within the UK of a similar nature. Violence is quite often demonstrated and threatened at burglaries, but very rarely used. These men, however, have demonstrated they are willing to go to extreme lengths to commit their crime.
Now, you have brought us a picture of David's injuries. I should warn viewers, this is a graphic image. We feel it's very important that we show it to you in order that you understand the level of violence that was used and therefore understand how important it is that these men are caught. This is the injury that David sustained from the attack and the robbery on his house. Truly, truly horrific. We saw him there being very brave and upstanding. How is he doing? How's his health?
Remarkably, David is doing very well. Despite his horrific injury, he has sustained a full thickness burn to his back, through all layers of the skin, through the fat and into the muscle. By chance of him being a builder and over years have toughened up the muscle in his back, prevented him from sustaining an even more severe injury and possibly even his death.
Yeah, he looked like a very fit bloke. What really sent shivers through me was the knowledge that as they were doing this to David, he and his wife were hearing these men say that they were going to pour boiling water over their sleeping 3-year-old granddaughter. That must have been terrifying for them.
That's correct. I mean, unbearable to think the consequences would be if she'd have woken up. Fortunately, she remained asleep throughout the whole entire incident, but to threaten to pour boiling water over their granddaughter and to even boil the kettle in front of Anne and David must have been terrifying.
That's horrendous. They kept talking. They kept talking about the money in the safe, the cash and the safe. There was no cash, there was no safe. But what was it that they did, in fact, take?
Jewellery was the main pieces of items that were taken from the burglary. Approximately 45 pieces of jewellery were taken. One piece in particular was a diamond ring, which is very specific, around about £20,000 in value. There was several items of cufflinks, pairs of individual cufflinks, some watches, a Rolex watch, 2 Patek Philippe watches, all very specific items and unique.
OK, and we've got details of all of those on our website if people want to take a closer look and they think they might have been offered them. Apart from the jewellery, who else are you hoping to hear from tonight?
We're appealing to anybody, and I encourage anybody to come forward with information about who may have been involved in this incident, even if they've just been offered some jewellery to buy, if they've heard about someone selling jewellery, or they've heard about someone talking about the case. I just encourage anyone to come forward with information.
David said in that film about his wife, you know, she's not the same person, and that surely can be no surprise. How do you think this family is faring after this horror?
Oh, it's absolutely devastated the family. It's ruined them. Anne is petrified to go to bed of a night time. David is struggling through. It's ruined their life.
Very briefly, there's a big reward here.
There is, yes. £10,000 reward for any information that will lead to a conviction, and also a 10% reward to the value of any of the recovered items of jewellery.
OK, Lee, thanks very much for now. Please, I would urge you, if you've got any information, do the right thing. Give us a call. The number's 0500 600 600, or you could call the independent charity Crime Stoppers. You can do that anonymously. Their number is 0800 555 111. Now here's Rav with some of this month's most wanted faces.
And first is Mohammed Ali Edge here, and he's wanted in connection with the murder of 17-year-old Amir Siddiqui. Amir was stabbed to death at his family home in Routh, Cardiff in April. During the attack, his parents were also seriously injured. Edge speaks with a Welsh accent and, as well as Cardiff, has contacts throughout the UK. There's a 10 grand reward for information leading to his arrest and conviction. Number 2 here is Seema Kapoor. She's on the run after abducting her 10-year-old niece, Ashley, from her school in Greenford, West London, in April last year. She claims to have adopted the girl, but Ashley was taken against her parents' will. So it's vital she's found fast so she gets access to the education and medical care that she needs. And next over here is Joseph O'Brien. He's charged with sexually assaulting a 12-year-old girl. He failed to turn up at court and has been on the run ever since. O'Brien's originally from Ireland and has also lived in Birmingham and Cornwall. He shouldn't be too hard to spot as he's covered in tattoos, including mother and father on his arms and the word Wicklow. And number 4 says he's called Georgios Zoulos, but police think his name could be fake. Albanian is wanted for a hit and run in Hertfordshire in June that killed Ricky Bertland, who would have turned 21 next month. Zoulos has stitches following the crash and is likely to have been left with scarring on his face. So, do you know where he or any of the others are hiding out tonight? If so, pick up the phone now, 0500 600 600, or you can text us 63399, crime, space, and then your message. It's really important to leave that space, or your message won't get through. And you'll also have another look at these mugshots online, bbc.co.uk/Crimewatch. And remember, all of our wanted faces stay on the website until they're caught.
In July of this year, the body of a man was discovered in Woodlands, near Southampton General Hospital. How he got there is something of a mystery, but detectives have managed to piece together his last known movements and are now on the hunt for whoever killed him. Well, I'm joined now by DCI David Powell, who is heading up this murder investigation. Thanks for joining us, David. Tell us a little bit of background to this man. I mean, his name was Sean. He was also called Simon by people close to him.
That's right, Kirsty, yes, but the reality is we know very little about him. This photograph here is one of the very few that we've got of Sean, and that was actually taken about 20 years ago. What we do know is he moved to Southampton from Hull about 3 years ago, and recently he'd been suffering from insomnia. And it's this insomnia that we believe led him to take an early morning walk on the morning of the 3rd of July, just before 7 o'clock.
OK, let's talk about this walk then. Take me through it. What were his movements?
Yeah, on the map here we believe that Sean crossed the Itchen Bridge leading towards the city. On the yellow route there he would have turned right up Marine Parade, past the St Mary's Stadium, entering the Northern Estate here, which is where he was subject to the unprovoked attack.
OK, now you've got 3 pieces of CCTV of Sean. It's really important we look at that because this is 3 different stages of Sean's last day. Tell us first of all what we're looking at in this first piece of CCTV.
This is Sean at 6:45 on the morning of the 3rd, walking towards the Itchen Bridge, where, as I've described, he'll be walking over into the city.
OK, there he is again. Now, the second piece of CCTV is when, unfortunately, he ends up in hospital. What are we seeing?
Yeah, this is after the attack on Sean, and he's coming into the hospital, as you can see on the trolley.
Now, he then, and we'll talk more about this in a second, discharged himself. Tell us about this.
Yeah, he does. We don't know why, but shortly before 2 o'clock he discharged himself. These images here are the last we have and the last sightings we have of Sean alive before he was found in the woods nearby to the hospital some 17 days later on the 20th of July.
Yeah, terrible. Now, people who saw him, actually, it's interesting, in that first piece of CCTV, we see quite a distinctive gait, but people would have remembered this big guy.
Oh, Sean's a distinctive man. He's 6'5" tall. He's of a big build. He was wearing a purple T-shirt, dark navy blue trousers, and as you would have seen from the CCTV, he's got this big black rucksack on his back.
David, what do you think happened to him?
Well, we're not entirely sure, but we think he entered the estate between 7:30 and 8:30 on the morning of the 3rd, where he then presents himself on the main road with blood coming from his head. He's told paramedics he's been hit from behind with such force, he's fell to the floor, banged his head. We did find his rucksack later on in the estate, near to the Prince of Wales pub. We believe that's where the attack took place.
Right, OK, we do have pictures of, I mean, really, really awful injuries that this guy suffered. It is perplexing to think, I mean, why on earth would you discharge yourself from hospital when you're in that state?
We don't know the answer to that, Kirsty. He may have been disorientated, maybe he didn't really appreciate the severity of his injuries.
And it's had a devastating effect on his family.
Yeah, devastating is not the word, quite frankly. They haven't had a chance to say goodbye to their boy. All the inquiries we've done shows he's quiet, gentle and unassuming.
OK, that's all we've got time for now. If you saw Sean Williams on the 3rd of July, the day of the attack, or if there's anything else you think might be connected to his death, please do get in touch now. Crime Stoppers have offered a reward for anyone providing them with information that leads to a conviction. You can call them anonymously. Their number, 0800 555 111, or you can call us here in the studio. Plenty of phone lines, 0500 600 600. Now here's Rav with some criminals caught on camera.
And some great footage this month, which I'm sure you can help us with. Dagenham, Essex, back in May, and this thieving trio are about to help some cigarettes fall out the back of this lorry. They prise open the back and help themselves to 10 grand's worth of tobacco. They've got some nerve, but not a lot going on upstairs, as they didn't spot this camera. Know them, shop them. Hello, who's this sneaking into this private garden in Brighton last February? He looks pretty shifty. Oi, over here. That'll do. He skulks about and then goes up to the front door. It's a bit late to hide now. He rings the bell and waits for the woman who lives here to answer. Once she's at the door, he exposes himself and starts making lewd suggestions. And this isn't a one-off. He's been hounding her for months, eventually forcing her to leave her home. This peeping creep needs finding fast before he finds someone else to harass. Or worse. Name, please. 3 robberies, 3 hats, 1 man. All at banks in southwest London. Each time he enters the bank wearing a different bit of headgear, calmly queues and goes up to the counter. He then passes the cashier a note that demands cash and says he's got a gun. He's struck at least 6 times already. And although not always successful, so far he's got away with 6 grand. Time to put a stop to his stealing streak. If we don't get him from these pictures, I'll eat my hat. So if you know any of them, let us know. Call us right now on 0500 600 600, or you can text us on 63399, type crime, space, and then your message. And if you need a second look, go online, bbc.co.uk/Crimewatch.
Back in March, a young nurse in Stevenage was the victim of a vicious rape as she made her way into work. Detectives believe it could have been a premeditated attack, and they really need your help finding the man responsible before he does it again.
March, a young woman in Stevenage was subjected to a sickening rape. But this attack didn't take place late at night or in a secluded area. It happened as the victim was making her way to work and just yards from a main road.
I'm a nurse and that week I was on long days, which means I start at 7:30 in the morning. I normally get up about 6 o'clock. I'm not very good at early starts. Then grab a quick cup of tea. Just leave the house straight after. I left the house about 6:20, and I took a slightly different route so I could post a letter along the way. I walked along Watson Road. I put my headphones in my ear. I happened to look at my phone and I saw that I'd got a text from my friend. I then went to go and put the music on and could hear some footsteps behind me. I didn't really think too much of it because there are often people walking behind you at that time in the morning.
The man we are looking for is a dangerous sexual predator. He's already attacked one young woman, so please, help us find him before he does the same to someone else.
I often wake up feeling very, very scared. So I have lots of nightmares where I just go back over and over the attack again. I'm scared that he could do it to someone else. He's completely changed my life and he's still out there carrying on as normal as though nothing's happened. And I can't do that. I don't understand that anyone could do that. You know, I can't understand what kind of person he could be.
DC Adams, who, as we know, is heading up the investigation, is with us now. Thanks for joining us. A very, very brave young woman that this nurse is. But as she said, it boggles the mind what sort of person would do this kind of thing.
Absolutely, Kirsty. This was a brazen attack carried out in broad daylight alongside a very busy main road. Shows an attacker full of confidence, and we are concerned he may have offended previously.
Understandably, she didn't get a look at his face because of how things happened, but there were two things in particular that are important aspects of the evidence here.
Absolutely. The victim was able to tell us that the male was wearing quite distinctive black leather driving style gloves, and also that he smelt very strongly of tobacco.
You are keen to trace, we saw him there in the reconstruction, this bloke who was hanging around, checking out the area just a couple of days before the rape.
Absolutely. We are really keen to speak to this gentleman. He may not be the offender, he may be an absolutely crucial witness who could help in this investigation.
And that would be important too.
We would be really keen to speak to him.
Take us through the description that you do know. We've got some clothes here. Tell us what we're looking at.
He's been described as a black male with light-coloured skin, aged 18 to 30 years, clean-shaven and of a slim build. Witness has described him as wearing dark tracksuit bottoms.
Right. Like
and also a long-sleeved, light-coloured blue top.
Okay. Now, the area of the attack, it was a busy morning. People were getting off to work. A lot of people around.
Absolutely. Fairview Road at 6:30 in the morning is full of commuters making their way down to the station. Somebody on that day must have seen both our victim and our offender leaving the scene. I would really urge anybody, think back, is that your normal route to work? Did you see our victim in distress? Perhaps you saw the offender fleeing the scene and you haven't made a connection between the two incidents. Anything at all you remember about that day could be crucial and really could be the thing that we need to crack this investigation.
It really could, Kelly. Let's hope we get the calls tonight. Thanks for updating us. We've got to catch this man before he strikes again. If you've got any information, call us right now. 0500 600 600. If you've been a victim of crime, there is, of course, the victim support line. I'll give you their number. There it is, 0845 30 30 900. Now, here's Rav with a special collection of remarkably clear wanted faces.
Now, cast your minds back to the middle of July. For 3 nights running, the streets of North Belfast became a battleground when violence erupted during the marching season. This shocking footage was filmed from a police helicopter. You can clearly see officers being attacked with planks and poles and their vehicles being surrounded by the mob. In total, 83 officers were hurt during the riots. Well, police have already made 71 arrests across Belfast, but they need your help in identifying these men who may have vital information. Do you recognise any of these faces? If you do, please get in touch. Here's a closer look at some of them. First up is this lad who police would like to speak to as part of their inquiries into attacks on officers during some of the worst disorder. He may also have information on an incident in which fireworks were thrown at police. Next, what about this guy? He's also believed to have information about assaults on officers as they tried to calm the rioting. And finally, police are also keen to speak to this individual here in connection with their investigation into other serious public order offences. So, who are they? Tell us tonight, 0500 600 600, and you can have another look at all of these mugshots on our website, bbc.co.uk/Crimewatch. Now, last time we appealed for your help in connection with a riot was after violence erupted in Manchester city centre following a UEFA Cup match back in May 2008. Now, this was the moment a group of hooligans intent on violence singled out a police officer and brutally attacked him. Well, I'm pleased to say that hundreds of you called in, and as a result, 12 men have now been sentenced for their part in the disorder, including these two. They're Scott McSeveny and Mark Stoddart. Both were involved in vicious assaults on the police. They received 3.5 and 2.5 years, as well as receiving lengthy banning orders. Nice one.
Yeah, good work. And now here's Matthew with more fantastic results that we've had following previous appeals. Matthew.
Yes, though we've been off-air over the summer, some really shocking crimes have been solved, all thanks to your calls. Well, first, fantastic news on a case we reconstructed a year ago. The murders of Sally Ann Baxter-Smith and her 14-year-old daughter Lois, who were killed following an arson attack at their home in Eastbourne. Well, as a direct result of that appeal, this man was charged with both murders. He's Anthony Scrace, and at the time he was Sally Ann's neighbour. Faced with overwhelming evidence against him, he pleaded guilty in July. Scrace will be sentenced later this month.
Next, some more good news, this time an excellent result from our sister programme, the Crimewatch Roadshow, which was on air for a month over the summer. We appealed for help following an armed robbery at a shop in Longfield, Kent. 3 teenagers threatened staff with a gun and a knife before escaping with £300 in February. We showed CCTV of the offenders at a nearby train station, and as a result, 2 of the gang were identified by viewers as 16-year-olds from North London. Both pleaded guilty to 2 counts of robbery and of possession of an imitation firearm with intent to commit robbery, and have now been sentenced to 3 years in a detention centre. Great stuff. And the Roadshow will be back next summer, featuring more cases from all over the UK.
Thanks, Rav. Now, still to come tonight, we need to find the gang of 15 who nearly killed a youth worker, attacking him with fireworks and knives. They stabbed him repeatedly. And the thieves who preferred black cabs to getaway cars, making off with jewellery worth nearly £1 million.
Plus, we'll be showing you how police snared the inside man, claiming to be a victim in a Manchester bank robbery.
We had to give the impression that we still believed him to be a victim, that the investigation was still going on.
But before all of that, Rav has his second lot of wanted faces.
All right, 4 more for you to look out for now. Number 5 over here is Rupert Legister. He's wanted in relation to an arson at a house in Islington, Liverpool, last October. The fire destroyed the property, but thankfully no one was inside at the time. Legister's originally from Thornton Heath in Surrey. Next over here is Calvin Scott, and he's wanted for his involvement in an armed robbery in Longdon, Lancashire last year. 2 security guards were attacked by 3 masked men armed with a machete and an iron bar as they delivered cash to a supermarket ATM. 1 guard was stabbed several times in the leg. Scott's 24 years old and was last spotted in Merseyside. Number 7 here is Kevin Thompson, also known as Norman. He's wanted in connection with a number of armed cash-in-transit robberies throughout the north of England and Wales, and can well still be hiding out up north. And last, but by no means least, is another Norman, Norman Fowler, who's wanted in connection with a number of fraud and theft offences. He was arrested in February last year, but failed to answer bail and has been on the run ever since. Fowler's 32 years old and has links to Scunthorpe, Grimsby, Hull and Cumbria. So, have you seen anyone there that you recognise? If so, call us 0500 600 600, or you can text 63399, type crime space and then your message. It is important to leave that space or your message will not get through.
Early one morning in February, a gang raided a small jeweller's. It was in the city of London. They took so much precious stock that the family-run business now faces ruin. We need your help tonight to track down these men.
At the beginning of the year, this tiny family-owned jeweller's in the heart of London's Square Mile was targeted by an armed gang. Posing as workmen to cover their tracks, they got away with nearly £1 million in jewellery. They were in and out in just a matter of minutes. But this yellow line isn't the only clue they left behind.
Well, Haynes Jewellers was set up by my father. He left Bond Street in 1958, came to the city in 1959 and registered his business in the name of John Haynes because his name, Jack Haynes, sounded very much like a bookmaker. I was about 22 when I first started working with my father. When he retired, then I became managing director. I arrived very early that day because my colleague had a hospital appointment. I shouldn't really have been here. There was absolutely nothing out of the ordinary at all.
No heroes. Just take it easy. Don't be stupid.
I think that the guy wanted to cut me just so that he could show some blood, and that would just terrorise me a bit more.
Where's the other fella?
He won't be here for half an hour.
Oh, it's safe downstairs. Are they on a time lock?
No.
Are you sure?
Yes.
Perhaps I should have lied to it about the time locks. I think all that kicked in really was some sort of self-preservation. And having given him his answers that he wanted, I'd got no idea what was going to happen next.
This is the actual knife the gang used. In their hurry, they left it in the shop. We know the manufacturer is an American firm, Hampton Forge, but what makes this kitchen knife unique is that it's been specially cut down and tape had been wrapped around it. We need to know why.
Come on, get it all right. Big stuff, the good stuff. Take a look at that. Go on, get it. Come on.
Any unit, personal attack alarm activation, Haynes Jewellers, St Michael's Alley.
CP8.
Can we have an ETA, please?
3 minutes.
Police made it to the jewellers in minutes, but by then the gang was long gone, blending into these busy streets. But what they hadn't banked on was the fact that the city is one of the most closely watched places in the world, with more than 600 CCTV cameras tracking their every move. The cameras first pick up the gang making their getaway on foot. They're calm and confident, removing their outer clothing to avoid detection. They turn onto Threadneedle Street and continue onto Bishopsgate, still wearing their balaclavas, where they boldly flag down an unsuspecting taxi.
Tower Hill, please. Whereabouts in Tower Hill, mate? Liberty Bounds Pub. Liberty Bounds Pub, rightio.
It was a cold February morning when it's not unusual for workmen to wrap up, so the driver wasn't alarmed by their outfits. CCTV then tracked the taxi as it drove through the city, stopping near Tower Bridge to let out 2 of the men.
He's not here.
We'll carry on and wait for him. Go on. Warner Place, Hackney. Warner Place, Hackney?
Yeah.
From here, we lose sight of 2 of the men. Where did they go, and who were they waiting for? The third man continued his journey onto Hackney.
What's the damage? Well, it's 1180, please, mate.
Here you go. Keep the change.
Oh,
Cheers. Thanks for that.
This gang knew the city well. They were highly organised and didn't think twice about attacking a 64-year-old man. But they made plenty of mistakes along the way, and with your help, we can stop them.
We really questioned whether we really wanted to stay around and really risk something even more serious than this happening. Now, when I'm at home on my own and I go to bed, I lock the bedroom door. I don't think I've ever done that before.
Well, DCI Danny Medlicott from City of London Police is here with his team. Matthew, I think, made a really good point there, which is there seems every indication that they're going to try to do this sort of thing again, this bunch.
Indeed, they're a very well-organised gang with every reason to believe they've done this before, and if we don't identify them, they will do it again.
This was, let's be clear, a very small independent jewellers, and the loss of, what, you reckon about 900 grand's worth of stuff? That surely is going to have a devastating effect on business.
It is. This is a family-run business. As you heard John say, he's been in the shop for 40 years. Yeah. He's in his 60s, and really he's been robbed of his pension fund.
These guys did organise things pretty well, as we know. However, they got a few things wrong from their point of view. Those things being what?
Well, the most important thing is at the scene they left behind this knife.
And it was that knife, let's be clear.
It was this actual knife, yeah.
Right.
Now, what we know about this knife is it's made by Hampton Forge, which is an American company.
Just take it over to, I want you to show people, because this is what that knife originally looked like.
That's right.
Yeah.
And this is what's of particular interest to us, is why has this knife been cut down, and why has it been cut down to this particular shape? Was it used for a tool or a trade? It had black tape around it when it was found.
Yeah. I mean, it is really, really distinctive, that thing. The other thing that's really distinctive, and this could be a great clue too, is the jewellery itself. This is not sort of high street, run-of-the-mill chain shop stuff, is it? Describe it to us.
As can be seen, some of the jewellery is unique. It's been designed by John and made up specifically for his shop. It's high value. It also comes, some of the items, in a very distinctive John Haynes box with his logo on it.
Yeah.
So if anyone saw that in and around the time of Valentine's Day, was offered it in unusual circumstances, we would love to hear from you.
Yeah, that could be really, really important. These men, as we saw, even when they got into the cab, it has to be said, were careful to keep their faces covered, but one of them, you do have an e-fit of, the guy at the end.
That's correct, and his description is that we are looking for a white male. He's in his 50s. He has grey, wavy or curly hair, a weathered complexion, and we believe he speaks with a Southern Irish accent.
OK, that could be very important. Very briefly, quite a big reward here, isn't there?
There is. Such is John's determination to bring these people to justice. He has put up a £10,000 reward of his own money.
OK, a lot of cash. Danny, thanks very much for now. Obviously, we need to find whoever did this. Please call now, 0500 600 600. If you'd like to see that reconstruction again, check out the locations of where the guys mentioned. Go online, bbc.co.uk/crimewatch. In a moment, we'll bring you the inside story of how detectives solved a dramatic bank robbery. But first, it's time for some more criminals caught on camera with Rav.
Yep, and this time we begin with a particularly nasty assault on a woman by a drunken man.
Colchester High Street in April last year. Looks like this bloke's had one too many. He staggers past two girls, then spits and swears at them for no reason. But that's nothing compared to what he does next. When the girls confront him, he puts his arm round one and then punches her hard, knocking her to the ground before calmly walking away. It's mindless thuggery, and his mate's not much better either. He saw the whole thing and didn't even come off the phone. Disgraceful. Don't let him lash out again. Who are they? This gang of around 15 youths are looking for trouble in Deptford, South East London, back in October. Some boys from another part of London are in the area for an anti-youth crime event, but this gang haven't got the message and are intent on violence. When the lads emerge, the gang launch a vicious attack, hurling fireworks and whatever else they can get their hands on. The group's youth worker tries to calm things down, but they won't listen and instead turn on him, stabbing him repeatedly. It's amazing this isn't a murder inquiry. The victim was left fighting for his life and was in a coma for weeks. It's senseless violence. This gang must be stopped before someone ends up dead. Make the streets safer and name them tonight.
Well, if you know anyone, you know what to do. 0500 600 600, or you can text us on 63399. Type crime, space, and then your message.
Please do get in touch. Now, Rav and Matthew have some more good news on cases that you've already helped us with.
Now, in March, we featured an appeal for the killers of 30-year-old policeman Mike Silcock. He was killed after being hit by a car whilst off duty in Stockport 2 years ago. Well, thanks to your call, 6 men have now been charged in connection with Mike's death, including a 25-year-old man who's been charged with causing death by dangerous driving. They're all due for trial in January of next year. We'll let you know what happens.
Now, remember this smartly dressed man. He was caught on CCTV assaulting a man in an unprovoked attack at London Bridge Station in June last year. Several of you called in and named him as this guy, 51-year-old Andrew Dunn. He was found guilty of ABH, fined £2,500, and he was also ordered to pay the victim £1,750 in compensation. Brilliant.
And finally, the latest on a case we featured a decade ago, 44-year-old Niole Shishkevenchin, who was found strangled to death near her home in Wembley in London in October 1998. Well, despite a number of appeals, including one to trace 2 crucial witnesses, those responsible never have been found. But detectives have now obtained a DNA profile, which means people can now easily be eliminated from the inquiry. So, do the right thing. The police say they can address any concerns you may have about speaking to them. There is a big reward, 10 grand for information leading to a conviction.
Now, the part of the programme where we reveal in depth how the police catch those responsible for some of the crimes that we feature here on Crimewatch. Tonight, it's the story of how detectives investigating an armed robbery at a bank in Manchester began to suspect that one of the victims, well, he wasn't quite what he seemed.
Oh, police! You in the back! Show yourselves!
On the 17th of December 2004, a 999 call was made.
Come on with your hands up!
Police were called to the NatWest Bank in Rusholme in Manchester. When they arrived, £200,000 was missing from the safe, and one of the employees was found bound and gagged.
Half a mile away, emergency services were called to a van on fire. Nearby, they found another member of staff who'd been tied up and was extremely distraught. Within hours, the 2 victims, Shazim Yousab and Angela, were interviewed, and police began to piece together the events of that morning.
Are you all right?
Yeah. I met a colleague, Shazim, and picked him up, and we drove down to the bank together. There was a van parked where I normally park.
I haven't got as much room, just check me going back.
Yeah, keep going.
Right.
I heard the van door slide open, and I heard somebody jump out, heard them hit the ground. And I remember thinking, if you just wait 1 minute, I'll get out of your way. And I turned my head to tell him that. And as I looked at him, he had a gun, which he was pointing at me.
Stay where you are!
I was so frightened because I didn't know what was going to happen.
Meanwhile, Shazim was taken to the bank and ordered to empty the safe of cash.
Free the money with you. Lie face down!
All I could think about was whether I was ever going to see my children again.
Angela was driven to a nearby car park.
Don't move!
Detectives turned to evidence at the scene, but there was very little. No fingerprints or even witnesses. But they did have one lead.
Checks on the van revealed it had been bought from a man in Liverpool the day before the robbery. The innocent seller of the van had met the buyer at Liverpool Lime Street station. The meeting had been captured on CCTV, which meant detectives now had a good idea what the van buyer looked like. And although the buyer had pretended to get to the meeting by train, police had a hunch that he'd actually travelled there from Manchester by car.
I took the view that if I was to look at the CCTV on the main routes out of Manchester to Liverpool on the day of the purchase, there was every chance that vehicle would have stopped and perhaps filled up with petrol. And if that was the case, that would have been captured on CCTV.
The detectives' hunch paid off. After 5 days of trawling through CCTV, officers spotted the man they recognised as the van buyer filling up a car at a service station. His name was Imran Hasham, and the car he was driving was registered to his father. With him was his brother, Munir Hasham. Police again visited bank staff. Shortly afterwards, Imran Hasham took an unexpected trip to Kenya.
Was it a coincidence, or was it because he'd been tipped off by somebody? Very few people knew of the existence of the CCTV. So I then began to wonder, is this an inside job, and had he been tipped off by somebody from the bank?
In an incredible twist to the story, police discovered the unthinkable. Shazim Yousab, their victim at the bank, was actually related to their prime suspects, Munir and Imran Hasham. He was their brother-in-law.
And police became even more suspicious when Shazim announced that he too was off to Kenya to recuperate from his ordeal.
But detectives didn't want to act too soon. They needed more evidence before revealing what they knew. So they kept up the pretense that Shazim was entirely innocent.
We had to give the impression that we still believed him to be a victim, that the investigation was still going on. And we still kept him informed, even when he was in Kenya, via his manager at the bank, how the investigation was going on. But obviously we had to be a bit careful about what we said.
Thinking the heat was off, Munir Hasham remained in the country.
He was being watched very closely by my colleagues. It also became clear as well that he had a new interest, which was shopping.
The suit you've got on is £350. No problem.
Munir was suddenly flush, even buying a brand new Audi A3 with cash.
Although we had suspects, we didn't have enough to start making arrests. And so we sought the assistance of Crimewatch.
Hello, and as well as Greater Manchester detectives...
On the night of the programme, surveillance officers were following Munir.
And significantly, at 5 to 9, 5 minutes before the broadcast was due to go out, he was seen to go to a friend's house and watch the programme itself.
Welcome me to the door. No sudden movements.
Big news this in Russia. Been in the papers again tonight. Word is on the street this was an inside job. Inside job. Inside job.
The second Crimewatch finished, Munir left the flat and we followed him straight to the bank employee's house, Shazim Yousab.
The fact that Munir went to Shazim's house provided the first concrete link between the two men and the robbery. When Munir emerged, he was carrying several bags. Police became even more suspicious.
Now, we don't really know what was in them carry bags. I suggest it may have been money from the bank. It may well have been some of Shazim's share of the money from the bank. And it may be that the showing of the programme caused Munir such concern that he went round to the bank employee's house, his brother-in-law, and removed evidence.
I became very interested in Munir's friend, the blackmail, the one who I believed he'd watched the Crimewatch programme with. And because of that, I decided to put him under surveillance too.
Police secretly filmed him and discovered that he too had recently bought an Audi A3 from a garage in Cheshire.
The garage had insisted that he parted with his driving licence so they could verify who he was, and they took a photocopy of this.
I believe you got some documentation for us.
Yeah, that's right.
So we were pleased to find out that the garage still had this photocopy, which showed us a photograph of this individual, and one better than that was, in fact, his name.
Yeah, that's it.
And that name was Daniel Cordell Stevens.
Daniel Cordell-Stevens had worked with Munir as a bouncer at various Manchester nightclubs. He also had a history of assault. Finally, police were ready to make their arrests.
The date for the arrest was set, and that was the 17th of February. And that was 2 months to the date after the actual bank robbery. We had 8 premises to search, and we got warrants for each of those premises. And we used in excess of 150 officers.
But it was at Munir's house that police found the biggest surprise.
We didn't initially answer the door, so we had to force entry. We found Munir in there, and he was arrested on suspicion of carrying out the bank robbery. We also found within his flat a black suitcase which matched the description that had been used in the robbery. We found a quantity of cash also in there.
Just as police were leaving, the washing machine finished its cycle. Officers checked inside and found another bundle of cash. Munir's attempt to hide the evidence had failed. With all of the culprits arrested, police took them in for questioning. Daniel Cordell-Stevens didn't have much to say.
The man who got out of the van.
Hey, where you are?
Held a gun to the navel of the lady who was kidnapped. Was that you, Danny?
Shazim, on the other hand, was happy to comment. He blamed Munir.
He was the one who started the discussion. He said, I want to rob NatWest Bank Russia. He came to a point when I said to him, there is no way I'm going to let you rob the bank. He stopped, he told me, listen, you have it my way or the highway.
But Shazim's excuses didn't wash. The case went to trial at Manchester Crown Court, where Shazim changed his tune and pleaded guilty for his part as the inside man at the bank. He was sentenced to 12 years. The judge called him a born liar. Munir Hasham and Daniel Cordell-Stevens pleaded not guilty, but were found guilty of kidnap and armed robbery. They were given 15 years each. Imran Hasham was tried on his return from Kenya. He got 10 years for conspiracy to commit robbery.
Others involved were charged with money laundering, but most satisfyingly, thanks to some smart detective work and an appeal on Crimewatch, the 4 ringleaders were now safely behind bars.
What about that? So, Matthew, the insider, how on earth did he think he'd get away with it?
Well, it was almost the perfect bank job. No witnesses, no forensics, no traceable cash. And Shazim looked like he was the perfect employee. In fact, he'd won Employee of the Year at the bank the year before. But as the insider, he was telling the gang the best day in the run-up to Christmas, when the bank would have the most cash, where the CCTV cameras were, when him and Angelo were on their own at the branch. As a victim, well, he played that role really, really well. So on the face of it, really convincing.
Now, you used the H word, the hunch words, that, I mean, any detective will tell you that's just nonsense. You know, being a good a policeman or woman is about methodical, systemised checks.
Yeah, in modern investigations, they have a lot of checks and balances to avoid going up a blind alley, but here the hunch was absolutely bang on. The lead detective just had this feeling that the guy buying the getaway car was lying. He'd also spotted that he had a rather distinctive hooked chin, so he pulled in every CCTV camera from Manchester to Liverpool. It's a colossal task, potentially thousands of hours of footage. But there, after a week, bingo, the guy with the hooked chin pops up. They identify him. He's related to Shazim at the bank. And that's just too much of a coincidence. And from that moment on, this investigation is really rolling.
What about the wad of cash in the washing machine? I'm damned if I'm going to be the one that makes the bad joke about this.
Yeah, loads of jokes about money laundering.
Obviously.
Actually, it was just him panicking when the door came in when the police arrived, throwing it in the first place you could think of. Actually, the police did get the guys that were laundering the money. One guy had 64 grand under the bank, but real satisfaction that actually they had taken out of action an armed, dangerous gang. They're off the streets.
Thanks, Matthew. Now, here's Rav with a quick roundup of what's been happening on the phones.
Well, we've certainly had some good stuff coming in on the aggravated burglary in Essex. Well over 40 calls already. Couple of names suggested, but one caller has phoned in with significant information. You must call back. You didn't leave a name. The incident room number will follow at the end of the programme. Please do call back. The Southampton murder, very quickly. 7 calls. 2 different names have both come up twice now. We hope that leads to an arrest. Lots more in the update programme in just a few minutes' time.
OK, that's all for now. Details on all of tonight's cases are on our website, bbc.co.uk/crimewatch. You can also find lots of exclusive content, including a special section of the site looking at the role of criminal profilers in the cases featured in last week's Crimewatch Solved. So the address is bbc.co.uk/crimewatch/solved. I think the phones have been particularly busy tonight. The lines are open until midnight, and from 7:30 in the morning, we're going to be back next month with more cases and hopefully some good news to report on the ones that we featured tonight. But before that, don't forget, we're going to be back tonight at 10:45 with an update. It's not too late to pick up the phone. If you can help, but you haven't called yet, please do it now. You really can help crack the cases. I'll see you at 10:45 until then. Bye-bye.